I'm joined by Jack Scalici, who is the Director of Creative Production for 2K Games, and we're here to talk about Mafia 2. There's a lot of creativity here. Obviously, it's based on a real time period in America, but it seems that there has been a lot of research put into it to make sure that it is authentic, at least, to my eyes.
It is, and a lot has been done, almost to a geeky kind of level. We want it to feel like you're in a different world when you're in Empire Bay. You don't feel like it's a modern-day city. You look around, you look at the fashion, you look at the signage, you look at the advertising, you listen to the music, which was part of my big focus was on the music. And you just feel like you're in a different time period.
Now, this doesn't take place in just 1 year, like 1951.
No,
it starts right after the war and
correct.
Goes forward.
It goes into the 50s.
Did you guys have to also make sure that the fashion and the music and the cars were also evolving as the game does?
Especially the cars and the music. That's one thing you'll notice if you've seen the demo. In the 40s, you start off, it's snowing, it's a little dreary, you just got back from World War II, you don't have a job. The cars are filled with snow, and there are these 40s-looking cars which weren't really built for speed. They were kind of just people movers, for the majority of them anyway. And then when you get to the 50s, we change the weather, and it's summertime, it's happy, the girls are wearing dresses, the hairstyle is a little more flamboyant, I don't know. They're wearing these pretty dresses, and the music, there's rock and roll playing. All of a sudden, there's this rebel youth culture. There's these greasers, that these guys in leather jackets with bad attitudes. All of a sudden, no one's like happy-go-lucky 40s anymore.
Actually, speaking to the greasers, one of the things that struck me when I was playing the game is, I think in our post sort of John Travolta Grease era that it's become sort of more of a soft nostalgic image, but
right.
It seems that those guys with the Brill cream in their hair, they're gonna beat your ass down back in the era that they actually existed.
Yeah, these aren't the John Travolta greasers that we're used to. They were just the badasses. They came back from World War II and started with the motorcycles and the hot rods and all that stuff, and it was just a rebel youth culture, drugs, sex, rock and roll.
Exactly. It started all the way back then.
Yeah, in the 50s.
Now, with the dialogue, that's another thing. How much of this is true, proper slang of the era? And because when you listen to someone like Lenny Bruce, it's almost impossible to figure out what he's saying these days. Exactly. How do you try to strike that balance to have it?
Well, we got
authentic?
sort of lucky. The civilians we meet on the street, they'll speak with a lot of slang. That I actually picked up from my grandparents, believe it or not. So I was well versed in the slang of the 50s, and the mob guys don't really change very much over the eras. Like you take a mobster now, you put him in the 50s, he's going to look almost like he belongs there. So the mob guys kind of they keep to themselves. They don't really let anyone else in. That's what the mob is. It's just all these guys that talk alike and dress alike. So we didn't have to worry too much about the mobsters using the authentic 50s slang. They kind of have their own way of speaking.
Now, in the 50s, with the music, as you said, there's rock and roll. How did you decide, okay, that song's in, that song's out? Were there ones that you really felt were necessary for the game?
Well, I started out listening to 50s music about 5 years ago when this project landed on my desk, and narrowed it down to about 1,500 of the top songs from the 50s that I really liked. And I worked with our music licensing guy, and we just went through it and we said, okay, this should be okay, this should be okay. Let's look at the budget we have, and we just looked and we did these deals with the major record labels. Who really want their music in this game. It's a way for them to expose a new generation to this music that was absolutely incredible. When you hear it, you're like, oh my God, I love this song, and haven't heard it in so long. Or maybe you've never heard the song before. You don't know a child today, not a child, but a gamer today maybe doesn't know who Chuck Berry is. Maybe doesn't know who Little Richard is. Maybe he's going to discover an artist like Louis Prima or Dean Martin for the first time. And it's something that all of our licensing partners are really excited to be a part of.
Now, what is the final year that the game takes place in?
I believe it's 53.
So, so you also get to see sort of the evolution from pre-rock and roll into the
You'll
crazy
hear it. In the
rock and roll.
40s, you'll hear, if you tune to the R&B station in the 40s, you'll hear the artists that the early rock and roll artists like Chuck Berry and Little Richard based their sound on. So you'll hear it starting to move from R&B to rockabilly to rock and roll, and when you get to the 50s, it's like full-blown rock and roll.
Well, I have to say, I think this attention to details, it's evident already in what I just played, and I can't wait to sort of, see more of it when I play Mafia 2. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.